always. My guest today is a very, very important person as far as the disease of sickle cell is concerned. And as you're probably aware, some of you have heard of the disease, some of you haven't heard of it. Now, each year, so many lives are lost due to sickle cell. It's a kind of a blood disorder that she will explain. But something that has prompted us in today's program is the sense that we're coming onto it to ensure that we bring in the awareness that some other people probably, I know so many of you probably are aware, but you don't really know. Some of you have never been screened, so you don't know whether you have the disease or not. And these are part of the things that we're going to discuss in today's program. Her name is Iyamide Thomas. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
Right. Could you tell us what you do and how come you're with the organizations that you're working with?
Okay, my role is with the Sickle Cell Society. We're a national charity founded in 1979, and I'm the NHS engagement lead. But I've been with them for a long time, and my role has changed within that. But I work for a charity.
Okay, which charity is that?
The Sickle Cell Society. We're based up in Brent, for those that know North London.
Yeah.
But it's a national charity, so we work all, throughout England.
But its focus is on Africans, or on Africa as a whole?
No,
it's not.
It's a UK charity.
All right.
That focuses on people with sickle cell and families affected by sickle cell, and that's not just Africans.
Okay. Now, you are practically an authority on this disease. I should say that. Or working encyclopedia on the disease.
Oh Lord!
Am I allowed to say that?
Well, I know about sickle cell, but let me put the disclaimer. I'm not a clinician.
Yeah.
I am not a clinician.
Okay.
My background is chemistry, but having worked with sickle cell for more than how many years?
Yeah.
Certainly, almost probably 18 years.
Yeah.
I was with another organization before the Sickle Cell Society.
So if a question is asked, what is sickle cell? How do you explain that?
Okay.
Because to a layman out there who's switching on for the first time and listening to us, what is sickle cell?
All right, you've got me. I'm going to have to be an acrobat now because I have props that I usually bring.
Okay.
But let me say that for those that don't know what it is, it's an inherited blood condition.
All right.
Yeah, you get it when you're born. It's genetic because genetic means it comes with you when you're born. You don't catch it halfway through.
In other words, it's with your parents, yeah.
Yes. Well, we'll go into that, but it's an inherited blood condition.
Yeah.
That affects the hemoglobin in your blood,
right?
Hemoglobin is a protein in your blood. It gives blood its red color. It carries oxygen around the body. Yes, you must have heard of a lot of people have heard of hemoglobin.
Okay.
Now, what sickle cell does, in one sentence, it's an inherited blood condition that causes severe pain known as a crisis. It causes anemia, severe anemia, and organ damage. So in one sentence, that's what it is.
Okay.
But to go into more details about the hemoglobin, we all have red blood cells, and normally they're like this, round. I don't know which camera I should point to, but they're round like this. Okay, our blood cells are round like this.
Yeah.
They're all going around our body. But somebody with sickle cell, their blood cells, when they go around giving up oxygen to the organs and all different parts of our body, they don't remain round. When they give up their oxygen, they turn into a banana sickle
kind of shape, yeah.
Yes, a banana shape. The name comes from a farmer's sickle, which is like a curved cutlass. That's what a sickle is, and that's why they've called it sickle cell.
Sickle cell,
it changes to that shape.
Okay.
And they start getting stuck within the blood vessels.
Yeah.
And that's what causes the severe pain that people have when it's a crisis. And they don't allow oxygen is deprived from going to the different organs, and that then with time causes organ degeneration.
All right. Now, a person with the condition, what are the symptoms?
Let me put the props down.
Okay. What are the symptoms, and how does somebody know he has it?
Okay, you've asked more than one question within that. Right, so let's start with let's start with the symptoms.
Yeah.
The symptoms, as I mentioned, severe anemia is one symptom, and that's because these cells that I when they turn into the shape, these get destroyed much quicker than if the cells were round.
Oh, right.
These last about 20 days instead of 120 days that these last.
Okay.
So you're deprived of red cells, and you become anemic. So it's not an iron deficiency anemia. It's a shortage of blood cells, because those get destroyed much quicker, right? So you can be very anemic, and when you're anemic as well, you look pale. The only reason is because most of the people that have sickle cell are dark skin, and I'm going to tell you about that. So you don't really see that yellowy pale coming through our skin. But if it was somebody white, they'd be really pale because of the anemia and all that. Also, when those cells get destroyed, the liver gives out a substance that causes yellowing. And you'll notice that some people with sickle cell have yellow eyes, and that's because they're quite anemic. The substance from the liver, bilirubin, goes into your system, and the eyes, being white, become yellow. It causes organ damage. Some people can have stroke. Young babies, children as young as babies, can have stroke from sickle cell. It causes all sorts of organ damage. You can have liver damage, kidney damage, all the major organs, anywhere the blood goes. But the main sort of definitive symptom will be the crisis, and that's very, very painful. Some people get hospitalized days, weeks, and they're on very, very strong painkillers like morphine, drip, everything. That crisis is what people know about a lot.
So we can go to the symptoms.
Those were the symptoms.
Those were the symptoms.
You want to know who it affects, because it's important for us to say that.
It is.
It affects mainly, and I'm emphasizing the mainly, predominantly mainly people who originate from Africa, the Caribbean, the Middle East, Asia, and the Mediterranean. Now, those people are people who originate from malarial areas as well, because the gene for sickle cell, let's call it the sickle gene, it's thought to have been nature's way of defending against malaria. It evolved because nature has that way under your environmental surroundings. Let's say historically, in the old days, your genes can change. And if people have one gene for sickle cell, because you need two of the sickle, the faulty gene, you need two. Each of us inherits one gene for hemoglobin from our mom and one from our dad. So if you have sickle cell, you have inherited a faulty gene from your mom and a faulty gene from your father, and you're known as SS. Hemoglobin,
that's the one which becomes severe.
Yes. Sickle cell anemia is SS, but there are other forms of sickle cell. You can inherit an S from your dad and say a C gene, which is not the normal hemoglobin gene either, and you get SC, which is known as SC disease. That's also a severe form of sickle cell. So there's several, but people always hear of sickle cell anemia. But there's several sorts of sickle cell anemia. Anybody that inherits an S gene and another gene that's not an A gene, the A gene is the normal gene. If you inherit an S with any other thing than A, then you have you have the condition. If you inherit an S from one parent and an A from the other parent, you get what they call sickle cell trait.
Sickle cell
trait, and you're a carrier. That's not the disease. It's the carrier status. But that's very important to know, because if you're a carrier, you can pass on that one S gene to your unborn baby. You see, that's how it's passed on. AS, it's called. Most people, a lot of people would have heard that from West Africa. They know about trait. It's called trait.
Now there is a tendency, and this is something I overheard people say. There was a marriage which was about to take place in Uganda years ago. And I think the two were either carriers. The daughter was a carrier, the wife was a carrier, and the husband was a carrier. And then they were saying, they shouldn't really marry, because if they're going to have a child, the child will have the severe one. And the parents or something that were going against it. That's the first time I came to know about the disease. Now, people even started checking people out, screening, and said, look, if you know that she's got the disease, and you have the disease, then there's no point, because you're going to have a child.
No, you're not going to have a child. But that's probably
that's the kind of language that we are always getting. That's what some relationship even broke up because of that. Because they say, look, what's the point of bringing a child in the world who's going to be not a carrier as such, but who's going to be heavily
sick? The child could be a carrier. Let me explain what the probabilities are. That what you explained is almost like some countries do premarital screening, before a couple wants to marry. Some places do that. The churches, some churches do that.
Well, some
in
they do.
Africa.
Okay. Yeah.
Ghana
Yeah.
does it. Some churches do. They advise the couple, but they should make sure they're advising them right.
Yeah.
If two people, as you said, are carriers or have the trait, there's a 25% chance that their child would have sickle cell.
Oh, right.
It's a 25% chance that the child would have sickle cell.
Yeah.
Because let's say the man will be AS, the woman is AS, but they can pass on. They can both pass on the A gene. There's a chance there's even a 25% chance as well that the child could be not even carry any of the genes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because if they both pass on the A gene at that pregnancy, and this is for each pregnancy.
Yeah.
They could pass on the A, the mother could pass the A, the father could pass the A, and the child would be AA, which is the normal hemoglobin genotype.
All right.
It's only if they pass on the S gene, and they both pass on the S gene, that the child would be SS.
Okay. That's the general confusion, I think, that which people get, because it's all to do with knowledge, really, because we have very few knowledge. And talking about knowledge, how far have you gone with the awareness? Because it's one thing. I've been in my community, the Ugandan community. It's something which is rarely discussed. I know it's discussed in the Nigerian community. It's discussed in other communities. But how far have you gone with the awareness?
Well, let me even say that the Sickle Cell Society has done 40 years of awareness, because we were founded in 1979, and this is our 40th anniversary.
Oh, right, that's great.
But so they have been trying to raise awareness for 40 years, because in fact that's why it was founded, because of a lack of awareness. It was founded by parents of people. There was a lack of awareness in the hospitals, in the street, in the housing areas and all that. That's how it came about.
Before we go any further, I just want to thank you so much for the kind of work that you've really done. Anybody viewing us, she's a wonderful lady. She's done quite a lot of work. I don't know, I first heard of you in 1990. And again, even then, you were discussing the disease at, I think, Miss Nigeria at one point with Martin.
You've been before I went to the society, because I was in another society before the
to such an extent that at the Gapa Wat they were saying, "Oh, you mean the sickle cell lady?" That to a certain extent
Lord,
I know people call you that. I said I was talking to a Sierra Leonean guy at the there was a ceremony, an African ceremony anyway, during the October month, the Black History Month. And then somebody was trying to call you. You were a distance away. And they said, "Oh yeah, could you call?" And I had to answer for you. I said, "Her name is Iyamide," because he was saying, "Could you call that sickle cell lady?" And I said, "Sickle cell."
She has a name.
Her name is Iyamide. Her name is Iyamide.
You're right.
So the thing is because of the kind of work you've done over the period of years.
I've been in it for a long time.
For a long time, the awareness you've gone around. Anyone else would have probably given up. Where is that passion? Where is that energy coming from?
I studied chemistry. That's my background.
Okay.
But I've always kind of been interested in health. My late dad was a medic. He was a doctor. But health that affects our people more, which, anything that affects, in fact, even when I started working in health, I worked with breast cancer screening initially.
Okay.
And it was in a borough not too far from here, Newham. Newham isn't too far from here. It's in the London borough of Newham. I did a lot of health promotion around that to try and raise awareness of screening for breast cancer. So I worked within that field for a bit, but again, it was amongst BME, Black and minority ethnic people, to raise that awareness. So I think that's, the passion is just to raise awareness about issues that affect our communities. And the best people to do that, I think, is somebody from that community. And that will lead me to talking about the outreach I've done within the screening program, because as I say, I'm NHS engagement lead, and I do a lot of work with the screening program, and you are aware of some of the outreach we did using this.
I've seen the film.
There's a film called The Family Legacy that was produced by the screening program. Go to the Sickle Cell Society website. We'll give it to you at the end. This was a really good tool to raise awareness in an entertaining but very educational way, as you know.
I remember I attended the screening.
This is it. We did it in so many places, and it did raise a lot of awareness, because we took we used to give out a questionnaire as well,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
to find out what was your knowledge before and after. So we evaluated it,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, and that's on the government website. If you go to www.gov.uk, you Google sickle cell outreach, you'll see all the stuff we did using that tool, the
Okay.
family legacy tool, to raise awareness. But as I said, the society is doing a lot of work. We have a mentoring scheme in it was in Hackney, and that's mentoring. You know, we have people with sickle cell who've achieved mentoring young people
Other
with sickle
people,
cell.
yeah.
We have a South London project which is helping, you know, activities again for children, young people with sickle cell, educational activities as well as fun activities like going go-karting and doing all sorts of things. It's a shame we can't show all the picture, you know, the pictures.
Yeah.
The children's holiday, we have an annual children's holiday.
Okay.
We do. We have a new project in South London called South London Gives, and that's to try and raise awareness of blood donation for
Oh,
sickle
right,
cell,
yeah,
to
yeah,
try
yeah.
and get
Because that's another area. The
yes,
blood
to
donation.
try and get more black
yeah,
people. Let
yeah,
me
to
to
donate
blood.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you see, there are certain blood groups. I think it's Arrow. There's certain blood groups that are more common in black people.
Okay.
You know, and people with sickle cell, one of the ways they treat them is by blood transfusion.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
best
yeah.
to get their own blood to match the blood, you know. And of course, if it's more common in black people, you need more black people to be giving blood so that
Yeah,
they can get
yeah.
that blood group.
Yeah.
And this our South London Gives project is raising awareness and trying to get people to sign up, trying to get ambassadors to promote that blood donation within their communities. So again, all on our website, which I'll give you at the end.
Okay. Now, do you go to schools as well, universities as such? Do you
We
go to? Yeah.
we used to. Let me tell you, we
Yeah.
need money to do that.
Yeah.
Before I became an NHS engagement lead, I was what they call the South London Regional Care Advisor.
Yeah,
We were
yeah.
funded by the big lottery initially, and we did a lot of outreach at schools, housing places. People would come and tell us. I did a lot of talks at schools, as did my colleagues.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We went to colleges, mosques, you name it.
Yeah.
You know, we did barber shops. I don't know if you're
Ah.
aware that this film has been shown at many barber shops.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I remember raising awareness in a mosque. I had to wrap my head, and
Yeah,
my
yeah.
colleague didn't even recognize me when I sat next to her. So that, you know, we have tried, but you need resources.
Yeah, I
and
know,
the
I know,
society
I know,
is
I
a
know.
charity,
Yeah.
and we really do need resources. But we've had quite a few new programs coming in. We have an all-party parliamentary group, which is the lobbying arm to promote sickle cell and try and get the politicians
Okay.
to wake up
Yeah.
to the fact that resources have to go to sickle cell. They met very recently, and one of the things we're lobbying for is for free prescriptions. They
Okay.
actually had a meeting last week, I think it was, and it was to try and see whether sickle cell could, you know, people who have the condition. It's a long-term condition.
I know.
It doesn't go away unless you have a bone marrow transplant.
Yeah, yeah.
And
yeah.
not everybody is suitable for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a long-term condition, and you're spending money on your medications. If you're not working, okay, I think they do free prescriptions for certain categories. If you don't
Yeah.
work, if you're over 60
Yeah.
or whatever. But come on, people who work still have to pay, and sometimes
Exactly,
it's very,
exactly.
very
It's-
taxing.
I know. It's very taxing, and the kind of social care as well. The care alone in the community where
this
you
is
are.
it, yeah.
You know, it's quite now. Through all the struggles into getting the funding, getting the people to come in, have you got any famous people that have come in? I remember Reverend Sentam. He was not a reverend; he's a bishop.
Bishop
Archbishop
Santam
now,
used to be
Sentam.
one of our
He used to be-
advocates. He was the chair of the NHS Sickle Cell and Thalassemia Screening Program Steering Committee.
Yeah, he did he preached somewhere one day, and he actually mentioned it. He mentioned it, and he said, "Look, because the church was, of course, packed with mostly our own people, our black people."
Yeah.
And he mentioned it, and I could see everybody turning. Because they said, "Look, how many of you have done any screening?" So it's looked
Okay,
like,
and
They said, "Look, none of you have done any screening. If
Yeah,
none of you have done any screening, how do you know that you've got the disease? How do you know?" So
Well, it's more likely that they won't. You usually know you have the disease because of some of those symptoms I mentioned.
yeah.
But the screening should help you find out whether you carry the gene, and that's the trait.
Of course, then you
Yeah.
know what. Then you
see,
know.
then you know
Yeah.
for when you want to
Yeah.
reproduce,
Yeah.
you know what your genotype is.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, the screening program here, let me tell you a bit about the screening program because I work directly for them.
Okay.
The screening programs is an antenatal and newborn screening program. It screens all pregnant women to see if they carry the gene for sickle cell. It's offered to all pregnant women.
Okay.
Race, anywhere. If you think you have family with sickle cell, you may not be this color, because let me tell you, there are babies who are not my color, who are born with the trait, the gene. One in every 500. Who is white or classed as white, So the screening tests all pregnant women. If they carry the gene, or it offers the test to all pregnant women. If they carry the gene, they then call for the father-to-be to come and get tested.
All right.
Yes,
all right.
that's it. Because if the mother-to-be doesn't carry the gene,
the
sickle cell gene, then there's no point, because the newborn baby will not have sickle cell. It comes from two people. Let me repeat that. It comes from mom and dad, and I know why I'm saying that, because a lot of fathers don't think it comes from them, right? No, let's be, so the mother carries the gene. If the pregnant woman has the gene when she's tested, and it's a blood test, they then call the baby's father to be to come for the test. When I started, I think it was about 50% coming, accepting that when I started with the screening with the society. But that's gone over 60%, and I'd like to think
that's great.
that are coming for the I'd like to think it's a bit to do with the outreach we've done. And that film, I'm hoping that some of the men in the barber shops, had a rethink. So it's gone up, but it's still, come if your partner has the gene, you have to come for the test. I know a lot of men, they don't want to admit it, but they're afraid of needles. Come on, that came out in a lot of I'm telling you, some men do not like needles, which is why they don't go. Because it's a blood test. It's a blood test. And some tell me, I've had a blood test before. If I had sickle cell gene, they'd know.
There is also a tendency to say, well, I'm feeling healthy. I'm okay. What do I need the test for?
One told me that I go to the gym. Why do I need to find out? I'm serious. One actually told me that. I go to the gym. I don't have the. I said, look, it doesn't. Or my. In fact, one college I went to, there were some young boys there who turned out to be Sierra Leonean, so they were so shocked when I started speaking my language to them. One told me that his immune system was hardcore. You see, this is all ignorance, really. It's nothing to do with your immune system.
Now, using famous people, this is something that I've been trying to encourage most of our people when we are trying to promote certain things.
If you have a celebrity.
People like celebrities, a famous footballer, a famous boxer, or someone in that category, there's a tendency for a certain generation to follow those people. I mean, if Beyonce says something now, I know a group of young girls will all probably be in the hospital next day being checked. Now, have you have you approached any of them? I know it's hard. It's very hard.
We have patrons. First of all, let me big up Ellen Thomas. She's an actress who is one of our patrons.
Ellen Thomas.
Ellen used to be in EastEnders. Ellen is one of our patrons. Right? So she's a known face on TV.
Okay.
She was in something that Idris Elba did. We want Idris, by the way, Idris Elba, but Ellen is in a film called The Long Run that showed before, I think, and is coming back. Well, of course, the ideal person would be Idris Elba.
Idris,
But when Idris says something, everybody, at least all the women will turn.
They'll turn up.
We also have. Lenny Henry is our patron. Lenny Henry is our patron.
That's good. He's another crowd puller.
Lenny Henry is our patron. Recently, we had a new patron and she preached at our Thanksgiving. The Reverend Rose Hudson Wilkin is our patron. If you've ever looked at the House of Commons, the chaplain, she's on TV. The lady you see in the House of Commons is one of our patrons. The Reverend, the great lady, she's one of our patrons. And she signed up to South London Gives, the blood. She promoted that at our Thanksgiving, so thanks to her. We have some new patron, Lord Boateng. Paul Boateng is one of our patrons. They're doing things. So the politicians, as I said, with the all-party parliamentary group. In fact, very recently, one of the MPs for Lewisham, she asked a question about the prescriptions.
Okay.
Free prescriptions.
Okay.
She asked that question in Parliament. I think it was this week. She
Yeah,
asked that.
yeah,
An
yeah.
MP for Lewisham, who's part of the all-party parliamentary group. She asked that, and the Secretary of State, Health Secretary, has promised to look into it.
Okay.
Because apparently he said he had witnessed a crisis,
Oh,
somebody
really?
having
Yeah.
a crisis. So
with the sickle cell.
yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
So
yeah.
he knew what she'd
Okay.
said. So let's see what happens.
What happened? Now,
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about Africa, and I've
So
always.
am I.
Okay. So I've always asked, why do African heads of state, for example, or African governments, or something like that? It's something that I've asked an African minister one time. In fact, I think Ugandan Minister of Health. She was here a couple of years ago, and she was attending a seminar, and I asked a question, and she said, "Look, sometimes we don't get approached. We look at so many problems we have in Africa, health-wise, that if you approach us and you tell us or write to us and tell us that, listen, such and such a problem, can you address it, or can you do this? Can you do this? You have to act as our eyes and ears and something like that, so that we look at certain things." They know they have a lot of problems, of course, but certain things have to be approached.
Right.
Now, I'm saying this on you, with a voice of sickle cell, reaching out to a Ghanaian president, for example, in a kind of an email, or reaching out to a Ugandan president, or something like that, and explaining, especially coming from here, and saying, look, we have, I don't know whether you have addressed sickle cell in Uganda, or you have addressed this in Kenya, or something like that. That voice will come out somehow. I think they will listen if it comes from here, and it comes from a person like you.
I
tried
probably won't get past the gatekeeper. No, let me tell you what's been. Let's be slightly more realistic.
Yeah.
19th June was World Sickle Cell Day.
Yeah,
Yes?
yeah.
And that came out of a UN resolution in
Okay.
2008.
Okay,
That was passed in 2008. And it was addressed to governments, the UN agencies, countries, that they should prioritize sickle cell as a public health concern.
Yeah.
So it was then, sort of cascaded to all countries who belong to the UN, that they should try and put resources towards looking after the burden of sickle cell, because let's face it, the burden is mainly in West Africa, mainly.
Yeah.
Nigeria, Ghana, millions, you know.
Yeah.
And but each year, obviously, they do their health plan or whatever the equivalent health plan in those African countries, the budget.
Yeah.
And they might have another health condition that surpasses sickle cell, and
the
so they have to
Ebola's turn up,
so they prioritize.
Yeah.
But I should hope that, and the thing is, with a lot of these countries, unless a minister or somebody is personally affected by that, you then have.
That's when they will have a look at it.
Yes, you then have somebody being very passionate about it. I'm an exception. I don't have any family or anybody with it, but but yes, unless so when it affects them, they will be more passionate about it.
Yeah.
But then health facilities are not there sometimes. I really, let's take blood transfusion. I mentioned to you that blood transfusion was a way they manage it. Now, how is the blood screened in West African countries? Do we have the facility to screen blood properly before we transfuse? You see, all these sort of things, resources, where the resource poor, and I put that poor in inverted commas, countries are the ones that are affected mostly by sickle cell.
Okay.
Whereas the rich countries, I mean, they have about 15,000 people here with the condition. We have millions in Africa. What's happening to those poor people?
Now, does it affect white people? Because this is another thing that you've mentioned. Is it there in the white people? Because if it was there, then it would have been. If it's there, then it would have been. I think it would have been top somewhere on agenda. If
it affects more, as I said, 1 in about 500 newborn babies who are white have it. But
really? Okay.
They have the trait, not the condition.
All right.
Now, 1 in 76 babies born in this country is born with the trait. 1 in every 76 babies in the UK is born with sickle cell trait.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's a decent amount.
Of course.
Now, it affects I personally have not met a white person with it.
With the disease,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I'm still looking.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stigma associated with sickle cell, and, embarrassment and things like that.
Yeah.
Amongst even black people, they don't, and I believe that's why we haven't progressed as much as we should.
Yeah, because they
They don't want to talk about it. They don't tell their relatives they have it. They don't tell schools. Their child has it. The one woman didn't want her son to go and tell the people in her church that he had it. All sorts of things, and we have to get away from that.
I was told there was a Congolese, I think, he's either Senegalese or Congolese, who had it, and he kept thinking that there was some kind of witchcraft from home.
There's a lot of
was
myths,
happening
and we try to remove them with the CD, with the DVD as well.
Yeah.
There are lots of myths around saying that if you've been cursed when you're pregnant, your child will have sickle cell. If the child in Nigeria, apparently they used to mark children with sickle cell.
Yeah.
They have a name for it. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And they say if that child dies, if the child dies, if the other one that comes back has a mark, it means that there's something. I can't remember what it is. Excuse me, but Nigerians among the audience, they might know what I'm talking about. They have a name they call it.
A special name for it.
But it's not a curse. Let's get away from that. It's a genetic condition that's inherited the same way cystic fibrosis is inherited. Cystic fibrosis affects white people. And it's got a lot of airtime and publicity because they're not ashamed to talk about it.
Exactly.
We have 15,000 people with sickle cell being born. Having the condition. Whereas with cystic fibrosis, probably about 1,000. We have more people with sickle cell.
The people.
But they probably have more money. There's probably more money being put into cystic fibrosis because it's out there. I think Gordon Brown.
Gordon Brown. I think.
Child
died from it.
You need a. As I say, you need a big voice. And let me tell you, footballers. I'm going to talk about the black footballers. Yes. Unfortunately, I can't think of any that what's the word that advocates for us. And I'm sure some of them are carriers.
You never know. They've never been screamed. Maybe they have been screamed and they keep it indoors. They don't want to get it out. I remember. I think Kanu had a heart problem.
Oh,
he was a footballer.
No, I remember. I know him, the Nigerian guy.
The Nigerian guy. He had a heart problem.
Yes, I remember.
And then when the problem was sorted out, he played.
Put a lot of money.
Then he put a lot of money.
Yes.
He started a charity back even in Nigeria about that and so on. And several times I tried to get him when I was on radio to talk about it and talk about even others. I said, look, when you bring it out, other people look at you and said, look, if it can happen to Kano, so it can happen to me as well, so that we bring awareness among our people. But it was always, my agent somewhere, this or that.
That's why I told you the gatekeepers. Those people have their gatekeepers because
it became so difficult. I couldn't approach him.
They have their gatekeepers. Because I tried. There was a footballer as well that had told somebody that he would be interested in promoting sickle cell. But we couldn't get the gatekeepers. Who the agents. You see, which is why I think. When you go to the agent, I mean, I'm not saying you bypass agents, but if you have a relationship with the person, or you had somebody talk to the person themselves, but then I don't think that they're not allowed to. I don't know what it is.
It's a question of giving back, doing something to give back. How are Americans succeeding? Because when I was watching, I went on a couple of websites in America, and I realized they're really good. They put so much money into it. They put a lot of money into it. They have. It's just like diabetes in America. Oh my goodness!
When you talk about, I know America puts a lot of money into it. It was,
but most of it
during Nixon's time.
It even comes from private hands. There's so many of these basketballers, the stars. They put a lot of money into it.
You can't even compare.
But then you wonder why our stars are not trying to do something similar here.
And one of the people affected in America, there was a girl group called TLC. I used
TLC.
to listen to them.
TLC. One of the girls there.
So she's, if you have, as you say, if you have a big name, one of them has sickle cell, and she's one of their advocates as well. But they're footballers. I tell you, one footballer in the past that used to support sickle cell, Garth Crooks.
Oh,
In
right,
fact, he
Garth
had
Crooks,
his
yeah.
own sickle cell. It was called SCAR, sickle cell anemia research or something like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he was really, really very supportive of sickle cell, Garth Crooks.
Yeah.
But all these younger ones and a lot of these African ones
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not here to I'm not here to come and
The thing is
knock
that
footballers, I suppose.
The thing is that I admire you because you've given it a big shot, and regardless of what people might say, but honestly speaking, you've really, really tried. You've given it your best shot, and you're still giving it your best shot, which is that's why I keep thanking you, because anybody who hasn't seen this lady, honestly, the screening program needs to be emphasized. Now, I look at schools as one of the schools
main
present the
basis.
next generation of
Exactly.
people who are going to go on when we are gone. I don't know whether the focus should go there, put more money into educating the next generation, go to schools, do a lot of that. Maybe if a child wakes up and tells the dad, said, "Dad, we need to go for screening," maybe that will work.
that's
Because
a good
I've seen the traffic ward, the police here have trying to get young kids to get involved with the drivers. They are shaming drivers who
Oh,
it's been on
yes, I saw
TV.
something on TV
They are shaming
recently.
drivers who have been driving
yes,
fast,
badly,
and
yeah, I
then
saw
they are
something like
facing
that.
kids now, and the
Yes,
kids
I
are
saw
saying,
that.
"Okay, we are judging the drivers.
Drivers,
We
yeah,
are
I
going."
saw
So
something on
that
TV.
thing is shaming them. Now, somewhere along the way, if a similar thing comes to schools and young
educating the
yeah,
the
you
young.
educate the young kids, and then the young kids start telling the parents, said, "Look, Dad, did you go for screening?" I mean, I would feel embarrassed if my 13-year-old comes to me and said, "Dad, have you gone?" I would say,
Well,
"Okay," because
They
I don't
want to know,
lie.
and one thing.
Have you-
Okay, with it's two things. One thing that the screening program will do now is that when because there's newborn screening as well, so that's collecting data on. It's been doing that. It turned 10 years in 2016. 10 years of the screening program being sort of official. They've been screening since for long before the screening program came about. It's just that they were covering areas that had more prevalence of black people because it's more likely to have people with the trait there. But one thing that would happen is that all the newborn babies now over the last 10 years, their status, because they've been screened at birth, will be in what's known as the Red Book. So that's one good thing, that generations to come will have their Red Book, and that status will follow them, so they will know that they are carriers when they get to the stage of getting marriage and so that's one good thing from the screening program.
Okay.
With schools, we did something called Genes for Genes some years ago. We were one of the organizations that won the grant for that year. And what they do with Genes for Genes is they wear GEANS, the genes, for GENES. It's a day in October that all the schools they raise awareness of genetic conditions, and they wear genes that day and raise money. They do all kinds of events. So that would have raised it raised a lot of awareness that is on their website, and they did a pack screening for children and all that sort of thing. But more importantly, one of our advisors, Professor Simon Dyson, he did a sickle cell and education project in collaboration with us. And that was to raise awareness of what children with sickle cell go through.
All right.
It's called sickle cell. I don't know, it's a school policy. It's on his website. You can go on a website called Sickle Cell Education, and you'll find all the resources there. But that's to help children in school, when they have to drink water. Because dehydration can cause a crisis. If they drink a lot of water, they obviously have to go to the toilet. So it's for the teachers to be aware that if a child is putting up their hand to say, "Can I go to the toilet?" they're not messing about. A child with sickle cell, they want to go, and it's for them to keep warm so that they're cold. If they're too cold, it can cause a crisis. If they're too tired when they're doing PE, physical sport, it can cause a crisis. So all that is in there to help the schools. And that child being there, could actually be encouraged to let their peers
know
what
about
they're
it,
going.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of teasing them that they have yellow eyes.
Yeah.
Because children can be mean.
I know.
Children
I know.
can be very mean.
They're
You know,
dangerous.
in Jamaica, I went to a conference in Jamaica. Some Jamaicans. It was an international conference, and you know what they call them in Jamaica? Curry eyes.
Yeah.
And I thought, come on,
Come on.
because of the yellow eyes.
Yeah.
You know, so we want to stop all that and just encourage more awareness, really.
Now, something else which attracted me, me on mainly because I've seen now GPs when they have been in a number of meetings of prostate cancer. Maybe you could borrow a leaf from the prostate cancer awareness, which is going ahead around, which is. There are several people going around now. They've come up with an idea of getting men to be checked by
PSA,
by doctors and so on.
Oh, okay.
Now what they do at every medical practice, tell all the doctors that if a man comes in, he may be a broken leg, it could be his arm, it could be something else, could be fever, but you come up with an idea. Say, look, when we are going to check you, we need to check prostate cancer, we need to check diabetes, so that all these diseases are checked rather than saying, oh, you have fever. Okay, we just check and see, maybe malaria if you've been to Africa. Rather than that, you check all the diseases. And but one of the things that's not there is sickle cell screening. Because when I saw that after visiting my GP,
your GP is good because I'll tell you, my
screening of sickle cell wasn't there
as well, because being my GP, they know where I work and all that.
Yeah.
And I remember asking, and what they do is when a new patient registers, they actually
ask for that.
Yeah, ask them about sickle, because it's just a matter of ticking. It's a blood test, and if on the form you can just tick sickle, and they'll test for that as well as, or if any other thing you send, it's on the blood,
but what they were saying with them, with the prostate cancer awareness, they were saying that, look, if they are to check your blood, it has to be an awareness straight away that any disease that is to do with the blood should actually be checked, and that would mean even screening for that, whether the patient wants it or not. The doctor needs to know, because you never know.
Well, those doctors probably have to pay. Let me tell you, you know how GPs work. So you're talking as if it's a bottomless pit. Do you know that doctors? You remember when they control their own budget? You know that, don't you? Okay. And they charge per the number of screens they do. You know that.
Okay.
So that's the limiter there straight away.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that GPs shouldn't be made aware.
Yeah.
Because there are GPs who do not know about sickle cell. Let's face it. If they've never seen patients.
Yeah.
But what I encourage is, if you know you have family with sickle cell, and you want to know what your genotype is, mention it to your doctor. And I'm pretty sure they will send you for a test. Especially if you're thinking of getting married or having children. It's good to know. It's an informed choice. Now the screening program is in there to tell you don't marry this person because they're a trait. Let me make that clear. It's to actually give you information for you, the couple, to make an informed choice. You decide what you want, because as I mentioned, because you both have the trait doesn't mean your child will have sickle cell. There's a 25% chance your child will have sickle cell.
Okay.
There are other things as well. They have something called there are tests you can do, preconception screening. That is, when you're pregnant, they can actually test the unborn baby to see whether the unborn baby is affected by sickle cell. That carries a slight risk of miscarriage, but people are doing it. Prenatal diagnosis, it's called.
Okay.
And one of the things I worked with the screening program was to do with that, to make sure people get that test early enough if they want it, because that wasn't happening. So we did a lot of work and came across something called parent stories. I think I have that here. All this is on our website. That was parent stories. The society produced this in conjunction with the sickle screening program. It was people's experiences of screening and what they thought was right, what they thought was done well. And one of the recommendations from that is for you to present early when you think you're pregnant. Don't wait till, I know there's a myth again about not telling anybody you're pregnant till God knows when. No, I'm saying there are myths around that as well. Not just in black people. I think there's a myth around when otherwise it might, it might jinx your unborn baby. But the sooner you present to and it doesn't just have to be your GP.
Okay.
You can go straight to maternity and say you're pregnant and ask for the screening
The
test.
screening to take
Because
place,
it's
yeah.
best to do it within 10 weeks of your
All right,
pregnancy.
all right.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then if you want to do that prenatal diagnosis I mentioned, again, you want to do that within just under 13 weeks. So,
Okay.
you know, so.
Okay. Now, one of the occasions could be, for example, the Igbos have got a ceremony coming up, and so many of them are going to turn
Oh,
up.
the Igbos.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
wondering what you said. Yeah.
Igbos in Nigeria.
Yeah.
They have a
No, I know
ceremony
who
on the
you-
29th, and it's a massive one. The Ghanaians have got Ghana in the park, which is also another big one. And the Kenyans have got another big
I
one.
know the
Yeah, yeah. Now, on such ceremonies like those, are you guys allowed to turn up with your screening programs and then
No, the
some
screening,
people-
no, you-
it can take a couple of minutes. It can take quite some time.
No, because funny you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Because the screening test, it's a pathway. If you screen somebody at the Igbo festival,
Yeah, yeah.
where you're going to see them to give them the result and
well,
to advise them
they-
about cancelling.
They leave their addresses behind.
Well, how do you? No. It's a whole.
Because
it's-
you know the reason why I'm mentioning this is because
Somebody has asked
I've
that.
seen it in Germany. They have done it in Germany.
on the sports testing.
Yeah, and
Somebody somebody asked me that very recently
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
there's a simple test, because this one they have to send the blood to the lab to be for the machines to
Okay. Okay.
detect
All right.
it.
Yeah,
It's not that simple.
It's a bit
Yeah,
difficult because
that's
the
what
Germans
is-
have
yeah.
been checking for AIDS. If you want to get the results straight away now.
There's a kit.
Yeah,
for
you just
AIDS.
stand. You just
There's a
stand
kit,
up. Yeah.
there's a kit for it, because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember seeing it at one exhibition.
Yeah, yeah.
Where I think they give you your results there and then. I
Yeah.
think.
Then.
When
yeah.
they present there's a kit.
Huh?
In fact, funny you should mention that, because in Africa
Yeah.
they don't have the electrophoresis, which is a machine. Well, at least not widely. They might have one in Sierra Leone. I don't know about other countries, and that's what gives the genotype. The thing is, they'd have to do a thing on it called on your blood called electrophoresis.
All
That's a
right.
machine that separates out all the different molecules and things. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they have a kit, but I need to find out a bit more about that, because that's not what they in Sierra Leone they're doing on the they're
spot,
starting
yeah?
newborn screen, and it's with a simpler kit.
Oh right.
Yeah,
all right, all
yeah,
right,
but
yeah.
it's there. I have to find out from a colleague that's over there right
Okay.
now.
No, because the reason why I'm saying that is that I'm trying to find a simpler ways, because in trying to get our people to have this,
You get them when they're there.
You get them when they're there. Now, if you try to, somebody will say, "Well, I'll try and come. I'll come," and then something else takes over. It's
You're
not
very
un- it's
right, yeah.
until it's too late.
It's,
But
uh,
if you
but
get them in a
it's-
big
it's-
gathering, the
yes.
chances are you are going to get at least 200 of
I
them,
think
because
it's
someone
the
will say,
follow up. I
yeah.
think it needs planning, and it's because when, as I said, when they come to the clinic, because they have NHS sickle cell and thalassemia centers around the country, where you can even probably go walk in, and I got a few men to do that after seeing this film.
Yeah.
To go and and make an appointment. Yes. But then it's, as I said, it's a pathway.
Yeah.
Once they get your blood, they then have to send it to that lab. They
Yeah.
then have to say, it's.
And
So
the-
if you
the-
screen out in the street,
Yeah.
it may
The
not-
process takes
process,
longer.
yeah.
And secondly,
You have
is
to send the blood
is
away, you
there's the
see.
stigma attached to also.
Well,
why
that's
are
it.
they checking
they
you?
won't come and queue
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
You might go, they won't come, even when we had stalls.
Yeah.
I'm not, and that's not taking blood. That's just
Yeah.
material.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
see somebody come like this and then detour as soon as they see the sickle cell
Yeah.
banner. We're our own worst enemy, I tell you.
No, but the good thing about it is that, well, the message has gone out there. It's there.
It's there.
And,
It's there, but some people will still
it's-
ask you what is
it's-
sickle
It's
cell.
really up to you whether you take the message or not. And but it would be nice for you to know, so that you are aware of what is coming up tomorrow. So
Because
that-
let me tell you, the stigma and blame. I remember the first year I worked within the Sickle Cell Society, there was one particular guy who he had the condition, very intelligent guy, but he was consumed by blame of his parents for
Oh,
passing
really?
on the condition to him.
to him, yeah.
Yes, you see. So, and then that again creates stigma. The parents feel guilty,
Yeah.
and sometimes you've had parents even say it didn't come from me, it came from your grandparent. I said, they've asked me that, does it skip a generation? I've been asked that when I've been doing talks. I said, no, it didn't skip a generation. Go back to which of your parents told you that and tell them that they have the gene. That's why you have sickle cell.
Yeah.
People make all sorts of, it didn't skip a generation. It doesn't skip
How
a
do you
generation.
see the future then? Because with everything that you have done over the past when 10, 15 years or so. When you look at the prospects of the disease, and the fights that you've carried on, you see a lot of success as there are more people coming forward, or you are seeing less people coming forward. You know, there are things like, of course, okay, the funding is never enough, but at least when the people are aware, and you've seen when you travel to hospitals and you gather the information that at least there are number of people being checked every day, their numbers are going up year in, year out. You look at the prospect and say, well, maybe the awareness, the service that we've provided over the years has been a success. How do you see the future then? You think you're winning this war?
Well,
okay, you can't win it right,
war
but
is a strong word. You know, I'm not fighting people with sickle cell. It's a strong.
Yeah.
Over the years, the number of babies born with sickle cell has actually gone down.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes, when I started about 12 years ago with the society, the number was about 350 babies were born annually in this country with sickle cell.
All right.
That's gone down to about 270. So we're talking about at least 90 less babies are being born in that time frame.
That
so
means
the number of
the
babies
knowledge,
being born with sickle cell is going down. Yes, so that in itself. The number of men, partners, who are going for screening when their mother to be, their partner has sickle cell trait is going up.
Oh, right.
So, the number of men, I told you that earlier, that the men are now going. So that awareness is there, and it seems as if people are making more informed choices also. Now, you also have people who achieve. You know, because somebody has sickle cell doesn't mean they can't achieve. We have very, very good achievers with sickle cell. And I always say that to live with that pain and achieve and become a lawyer, a doctor, you're a nurse, a teacher, that's to be commended, really. And I think, in fact, just like sometimes you have children with autism who can be very, very clever. I saw an architect, you know, who, you know, children with sickle cell.
Painter as well.
Yes,
very nice painter.
So, you know, it's not, there's stigma, but you should never be thinking that a child with sickle cell doesn't achieve. It's happened. Let them live the best life they can. As far as the future with research and all that, they're doing gene therapy, which is right, because it's a genetic condition. So some of the research is going towards seeing whether they can manipulate the gene. And they succeeded doing something similar in France about 2 years ago. They were able to cure a 13-year-old with the condition by changing his DNA. They actually, I said earlier that stem cell or bone marrow transplant, that's the cure for sickle cell, but you need a donor, you need to match it. But you can also look to the future that some of these, because there's a lot of research going on, and in America, but UK does it as well. We partner. You know, there's a lot of research going into sickle cell. Because
Israel has,
you know, they're doing research.
Massive research.
Yes, they are doing a lot of research. But the thing that might be a bit, they might find the cure, which they have, bone marrow transplant and all this. But even if they find in medications, you know, that alleviate the pain and all that, but how available is it in the countries that has the most burden in Africa?
Nigeria,
you know,
and
costs.
Ghana.
You know,
it's
Sierra Leone, Uganda.
It's going to be
country.
Uganda.
You know, you should talk. You have Ugandan advocates.
We have Mabel. I think
you have Mabel. Hello, Mabel. If you're watching, or you'll watch it sometime. She's an advocate because sadly she lost, you know, a child with sickle cell here in this country. But is doing work in Uganda.
And she's really done great work in terms of spreading the word,
raising awareness, maybe amongst the communities. It's best to do it amongst, you know, communities that you're from. Start with that. Charity begins at home. Isn't that what they say? I've done a lot of awareness raising amongst the Sierra Leonean community.
To be honest with you, I never heard of the sickle cell before coming to this country. And
Gosh,
I never heard of it before coming.
But
this,
it's more. There's more awareness now in Africa.
Yeah, there is
now.
There
There's
is
now more awareness in Africa because I think they see the burden of it. Marriage, as you say. They might have the wrong. Well, they might label some families as having sickle cell. Don't go and marry them. They all have sickle cell. I know that they say that.
I know.
But
I know it's something which. But you have to make the choice anyway. You are not going to be told, don't marry this woman because of this, and then
you fall in love. You
fall in love.
Yes, but it's just a matter of making sure you're informed and you're prepared.
Because
the last thing you want, as that film showed, remember what happened, what the man did. I'm not going to spoil it, but you remember what the man did in that film, don't you?
I know, because I saw the film anyway.
Yeah, go online. Shall I give the society website?
Do
to watch the film. www.sicklecellsociety. That's all one word. .org. Just Google. Now you Google anything, it comes up.
Exactly.
So
now we're coming towards the end of the.
Yeah.
We're coming towards the end of the program, and I'm looking at you're saying the future is quite good in terms of more people screening, more babies are screened, and so on, which is quite good. But I've always wanted to. What could be the main suggestions when it comes to Africa? I know there's a lot of corruption in Africa. There's a lot of things going wrong in terms of our leaders failing left and right. But to any individual out there with the money who can start up something, say for example, I've got a couple of pounds on me and I want to go to Uganda and I want to do something to do with sickle cell in Uganda. What kind of advice would you give me? What should I start with? The screening program itself, are the drugs, are the screening machines extremely expensive? Because this is something we could campaign on and say, if you get machines cheaper, then smaller private hospitals could start this up. Because in Nigeria, I think somebody started something similar in Lagos, but it was having too much pressure from the government. And
to do what? Too much pressure about what?
No, I think people are being diverted in a different area by the Nigerian government. That's what at one time I was talking to him about, his aim was to get a screening of the people, because in that particular area he said it was too much because people were in that particular
pockets of area in Nigeria, Ghana, and even Sierra Leone. They're doing it's not universal screening, but they are doing screening in certain areas.
Now, could there be anything cheaper that somebody could
well, that's what I mentioned earlier, that there's and we can research it, and you can give it, that information on your website. But there is a simple kit that they're using in Sierra Leone. What I need to find out is whether it tells you the type of sickle cell you have, because there's something that used to be called a solubility test, and that will only tell you whether you are. It won't distinguish between whether you are sickle cell trait or the condition, because it just determines that you have sickle hemoglobin in your blood, because of the way the solubility is different. But it doesn't tell you whether you're AS or SS. But I think now they've developed something that does. So I have to follow up on that, because that's a useful thing. But to go back to what you're saying about whether anybody wants to invest in this and that. They have millionaires in West Africa,
Yeah, I know.
And I presume in East Africa as well.
Oh yeah, they are. Right. They are. But this is something they haven't thought about. You know what? Take the idea.
You know what?
You take the idea to them.
Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
And I am sure it's true. I'm not going to name any names or anything, but I heard that a Nigerian, I don't know if it was a politician, but it was obviously well off.
Yeah.
Used to fly the hematologist from here
to go to Nigeria
to go and see his child.
To see his child?
Yes, to go and Now, that the hematologist is a consultant, for those that don't know.
Only to go and see one child?
That works within sickle cell. The child has sickle cell, and, this is what I heard.
Why not see the entire community?
Well, you can. As I say, I didn't follow that, but I believe it's true.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to point that we have well-off people.
Yeah,
in
when you have the
Nigeria,
money, when you have the money, I think.
But they often say that sometimes it's the richest people that don't want to part with money.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Well, if it's affecting them, but they don't want it to help the community. That's where the problem is.
They would rather fly. Okay, that was flying from here to there, but a lot of these people fly out to get the healthcare. Instead of trying to develop it in
Africa.
It's such a shame. And people, it's sad, really. It's sad. But we were saying screening, but you screen. You don't. You screen to care. You screen to look after somebody. There's no point screening somebody and saying your baby has sickle cell, and then you don't have the penicillin to give to them.
Yeah.
Or because that's what they do when newborn babies over here, they then put on penicillin to stop infections and things. And they're giving folic acid to build up their blood cells. That's those are some of the things they do once the baby is diagnosed. Now you can do your simple test in Sierra Leone or Ghana or wherever, but you still need to be able to follow up that child.
Oh yeah, once you've discovered what it is,
so,
yeah.
You know, once you know what it is.
Okay.
So you know,
it's something we have got to talk upon. We've got to take that upon. Otherwise, if we don't, then we're going to have a lot of problems.
Sorry,
Now,
I'm
I
looking
just
for my leaflet.
I just want to thank you very, very much for coming.
Before you go,
yeah,
I'm going to use this platform now.
Yeah.
I mentioned it's our 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
Now we have things coming up on the 20th, and again go on our website on the 20th of July.
Okay.
We have the society's AGM and Patients Education Day.
Okay.
And on the 14th of September, we have a gala ball to celebrate. So tickets are online again. Come and help us celebrate this wonderful milestone. Because for a charity to get to 40 years, it's no mean feat,
Most
you know.
of them don't make
they
it.
don't make it.
10
Look at
years,
what happened to Kids. Was it Kids Corner? You know, the one with the flamboyant. We've struggled for 40 years. And if you're looking for a charity to donate to on your birthday, Facebook now has a donate. I did it last year. Where you can donate through Facebook. All your friends can donate to a charity. Choose the Sickle Cell Society. We're getting quite a few people are doing that.
Okay.
So that's one way you can give us money.
I'll be mentioning you, and I'll make sure that
on Facebook.
On Facebook, I'll be mentioning you, and I'll be making sure that at least any of my colleagues at least can have a say in whatever, because this screening is extremely important. You know, and that will mean
the screening the screening is important, but also the voluntary sector that's looking after people with sickle cell is important. Which is the charities. So it's the statutory sector, which is the NHS. But then a lot of the groundwork as well is done on the burden is on the voluntary sector, because sickle cell doesn't only affect you clinically, it affects you when you're out of hospital, your housing,
at home,
your
and
schooling,
so on.
and that's where we come in.
Okay.
But we need money to do it.
Well,
and on that note,
you're taking over my role.
you get me to be a presenter.
I know. You'll come one of these days. I can't end by. I have to end by thanking you, especially for the great work that you've done. And anyone out there who doesn't know Iyamide, she's here, and the kind of work that she has done, and the goodness, her kindness, and everything. I want you all to be exactly like her, so that we can have a better society. On behalf of Joe, my producer, and Omega TV, I just want to say thank you very much for viewing us, and we'll be together again next week. Thank you, and may God bless you.